Hi, and welcome to the Bestie Perspective, a raw, unfiltered space where we explore the mind-body-spirit connection. Every Wednesday, we dive into personal growth, holistic healing, and life's ups and downs to inspire, support, and remind you you're never alone on this journey. Hey besties, welcome back to the Bestie Perspective. I'm Lauryn, and I have Hannah and Aylen with me today. Today we're diving into a topic that we all experience, but don't always handle the best, messing up. I attended a workshop back in January by sexual integrity coach and consent educator Mischa Byruck called Fuck Up Better, Gold Standard Apologies, and it was all about how to take accountability and apologize in a way that actually means something. We've all been on both sides of this, giving apologies, receiving them, the good, the bad, and the cringeworthy. So today I'm sharing my insights from this workshop, and we're breaking down what makes a truly great apology, why accountability is so powerful, and how we can all fuck up better moving forward. That being said, grab a cozy drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. First, I want to touch on why this workshop caught my interest. The name of the workshop definitely caught my attention, but when I read the description, I was inspired and interested in learning better apologizing techniques so that I can start fucking up better myself. So after reading this description, I knew I would be walking away with tools that I could apply in my everyday life because whether we like it or not, we are all going to fuck up at some point. So stay tuned to learn the 6 steps in the gold standard apology. Now I want to do a quick check-in and talk about one thing we've learned about apologizing in our own lives. So why don't you start us off, Hannah?
Well, okay, so you can say sorry a million different ways, okay? But if your actions don't follow up with any real alignment, then your words are just words. It just doesn't land right. And I've learned the impact of an apology isn't just the words themselves, it's really what happens after. So after a apology, I'm asking, okay, does this person's behaviors match their remorse? And I ask myself the same thing after I apologize to somebody, because this is where integrity comes in. And you find out a lot about someone when it comes to apologies, I think. So for me, I think the thing I've learned is a genuine apology isn't just about saying the right thing, but it's about becoming someone different on the other side of the mistake. And that takes things like consistency, self-awareness, compassion, and empathy. What about you, Aylen?
Well put, my dear. I am in full agreement with all of that. Yes. Yeah, the follow through, right? You can have an amazing apology and then keep doing what you're doing. No thanks. Means diddly squat now. So I kind of had 2 things that I wanted to mention thinking about apologizing in my own life. One of the things, first, tapping into my heart space before I apologize has made all the difference. So it's great when you're nervous, especially like if you've done something wrong or have to fess up to something, coming back to that stillness of your heart, and it not only helps you remain in a loving state, but it also helps you tap into self-forgiveness. So that, in my opinion, is more important than receiving someone else's forgiveness anyway, your own forgiveness for what's been quote unquote done wrong. So how one would do that, I would literally place my hand over my heart. I would take deep breaths and focus in my chest area. I would visualize my heart space. It's a ball of energy. Like there's no way to really do it wrong if you're just focusing in that space, tapping into it, kind of chilling out, and then really trying to sink into what heartfelt thing you're trying to say. What are you really trying to get to come through in that apology? So,
wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That's it. I'm just thinking, I'm so glad you shared this technique because, what really makes an apology? I'm just also thinking, speaking from the heart, when you can tell when something doesn't feel genuine.
Exactly.
So I love that idea of really tapping into yourself first, in your heart space first, and speaking what's really on that, because I think people can truly feel that.
Exactly.
Okay, guys, the next time you fuck up really bad, sign up for Aylen's workshop and heartfelt apologies.
Hey, that's right. Tapping into the heart. That's right.
Yes.
I love it. And so the second thing that I learned was more about myself, and that I learned that I actually prefer a discussion, like just an apology or just a statement or even just a couple sentences. And for some people, they don't have anything. They just don't even, they're okay without the apology. Like, I am not a pretender. Some people out there can move past things without a word, but that was not me. Now, as I've gotten older, it's no longer necessary. It used to feel necessary to me, but now it may be what I prefer, but I've been able to move past a lot by myself, within myself, and trusting that process in that internal state that I now got to, and knowing that that's enough. But yes, if I had to choose, I want to talk it out. I don't want to pretend or sweep under the rug or just I'm sorry too. Okay, bye. No, I like to have a little chat about it.
I think I'm the same in that way. I like to talk things out, and then it just feels like both sides can be heard. And I mean, yeah, I think just I'm sorry, okay. It does seem like sweep it under the rug. We're doing this as a formality. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Then that's even one of the biggest things for me too, because I feel like if someone really gets why it hurt us, or that they're even trying to understand, that just hits different because they're taking time to like slow down and try. And maybe they'll never truly understand us because they haven't lived our experience and walked in our shoes, but at least I can deeply appreciate the fact that they're trying.
Yeah, the effort can be felt. Yeah.
So for me, I think one thing that popped up when I was reflecting on this was accountability. I feel that a good apology, kind of what we're saying, I feel like is woven into this too, but it always seems to have me or the other person taking accountability for the actions, for our actions. That seems to be when apologies have always felt the most healing to me. And I think reflecting even now in this moment on situations of apologies, or even apologies that I wish I had, I think that it makes me think, yeah, if there was just some accountability there, that would have felt a lot better. So I liked both of your points, and that's the one for me, I think, to just add that on there. So let's start diving into some of the meat of this workshop. We all mess up, but it's how we handle it that matters. We have all experienced and or delivered good and bad apologies. So let's brainstorm together a few things that we believe make good apologies and a few that make bad apologies. So what comes up for you ladies when you think about good apologies you've received? How about you start us off, Aylen?
Well, it's funny you just spoke on accountability, because that was literally my word in thinking about what makes a good apology. Yeah, it's not about just feeling bad, right? If you can't own what's been done and want to be better about it, yeah, no. So all the way, a good apology, accountability. Without it, doesn't make the cut.
Oh yes, definitely accountability. Anything else that comes up for you for good things?
I think the sincerity, like, I think I might have more. Can I get into bad apology, or should we stick with just good apology for now? Because
yeah, let's all throw out some goods, and then we'll all throw out some bads.
Cool. So then, yeah, because I feel like it was almost easier, which is interesting, to put out what I thought was a bad apology.
The bad
so
ones?
Maybe I've had
Me too.
Damn, I guess we're not getting apologized to very well,
we
ladies.
have not gotten some good apologies, some gold standard.
I have also been a really shitty apologizer in the past too. So I was like, ooh, that's where I messed up. Ooh, that one wasn't good. Like a lot of it was shitting on myself too.
Uh-oh.
And I will also throw out there that I thought I was pretty good at apologizing until I took this workshop.
Okay.
So I'm excited to hear what y'all think because it just goes more in depth to, I think, the degree that I wasn't even thinking before and really crafting this apology that can really be healing for someone.
Okay. Well,
So any more good things for you that pop
I was
up?
going to say another word that pops up for me was sincerity. Yeah. If
Sincerity.
with the apologies, you can feel that. You can just, you can tell if someone's just trying to get it out because it's the right thing to do. But when it's
to get it over
exactly,
with.
but when it's sincere, it makes all the difference.
Yeah. How about you, Hannah? What good apology examples pop up for you?
Okay, so we touched on this already, but Aylen brought it up as a conversation. For me, I was just thinking in general, feeling heard when I feel like someone's really listening and trying to understand. The other couple of things I thought of are, I think a solid apology really acknowledges the impact, not just the intent. I didn't mean to is nice to know. And you hear that from little kids all the time. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, because that's what they were told to say, like on repeat. But it doesn't undo the feeling of what was created. So I was thinking maybe if you're the one apologizing, you can say something grounded and direct, like, I know I messed up. Can you help me understand the impact it had on you? But it was hard for me to think of an example then when I was thinking about this, because I don't know if I've ever actually said that to somebody, but I was like, man, that might actually make for a good apology.
Well, you are on the right track because let me I'll give you a little peep teaser. That impact is one of the gold standard apology steps. So,
ooh, I'm giving myself some snaps over here.
And so is accountability. So,
and one other thing that I was going to bring up is I've been in situations where I've been both the apologizer and the person being apologized to when forgiveness is like trying to be forced. So I'm sure you guys have had experiences or seen examples of people being like, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean to, or however it's phrased.
It's begging. It's that kind of begging energy.
Yes. Like a begging, forceful, there's no meaning behind it. They just can't stand like
not being forgiven.
So it's almost like
the idea of,
in that case, it's like the apology's more for them. Like they need your forgiveness. So then that's not what the foundation of an apology is about, right?
Nope.
Yeah. So I guess a good apology in that sense for me is just being given the space and time to think things through and process my emotions so that I can even have a conversation. Sometimes I need that time so I can have the conversation and process my emotions and all of that, thoughts, everything.
Right. Because even if you think of how many times did you have maybe an emotionally charged or intense conversation with someone, and then like 2 days later, you're like, damn, I should have said this. Or it's like all these things pop up later, right? So it's almost, you have to give yourself time to process whatever the situation is to also be able to be in a place to receive the apology.
Yep. Yeah.
So did you have any more good ones? Okay, so I also had accountability as ones that popped up for me, and heard, I put acknowledged. So I think those are kind of the same. When my feelings are acknowledged, that feels like a good apology to me. I also had when it doesn't feel argumentative. So kind of maybe a slightly different direction than the kind of begging avenue that you were talking about. But just sometimes it can feel argumentative when some people are trying to apologize. Like the energy feels negative, not really, let's try to work this out and heal together. It can just feel very aggressive and charged.
Or they're defensive. So they're blocking whatever potential like connection you could be creating in the apology.
And then The last thing I had was when they acknowledge they've done something wrong and initiate an apology instead of having to ask them for one. So I put that as a good thing where somebody actually says, oh, I done fucked up. I need to go apologize, instead of you're sitting here realizing that they fucked up and you're waiting, right? So I think people who have that awareness acknowledge that they've made a mistake because they're obviously paying attention to social cues and what they know about that person, right?
And take the initiative.
And then initiating that apology instead of having to somebody being like, well, I'm not talking to you or I'm not doing this until you apologize, right? Like, I feel like we've heard that happen
I'm
a lot
so in
before.
agreement with this one. Yeah, taking initiative. I feel like when I think back on all the apologies where that did happen, it's like they were great. Even if it's, if someone said an apology, took initiative, and I was like, oh, no, you're fine. It wasn't anything. It still feels good that they came to you versus you seeking them out and telling them, need a damn apology from you.
Yeah. And I think we've probably all had a moment like that where we've almost had to demand an apology for someone. Like, what? You do not see that you need to apologize? What?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I'm guilty of giving my husband the silent treatment. Like, if I'm waiting an apology, I'm like, I'm not talking to you. And he'll be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know.
You're supposed to be a psychic mind reader and know, Jason.
And then I usually come to my senses, but I do still have that part of me come out from time to time. I'm going to be honest.
I do too. I think, as good as we try to be, definitely happens sometimes. But now we're going to have this wonderful episode to send our husbands and everybody else important in our lives.
They're going to love our apologies from now on. I can't wait.
I know. But now, since everybody said it was so easy to generate the bad apology examples, why don't you start us off with this one, Hannah, and tell us some of the bad apology examples.
I have a list, y'all.
Let's hear it.
First of all, when you say something so much, then it can kind of like lose value or sincerity. I feel like sorry is one of those words.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So someone who like over apologizes for stuff just to try to smooth any tension over, even if it's not their thing to carry or their thing to apologize for. It feels gonna get spicy for a minute, but it feels fucking pointless. Like, why are you even apologizing for that? It had nothing to do with you. I've had moments like that where I get frustrated talking about it because I used to do it. And then I realized like how it was making my I'm sorry lesser in value. And then it also makes me upset for other people who say I'm sorry without even thinking about it. Or maybe they do internalize, oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like, it's not your fault. Like, don't even think twice about it. And then also saying sorry just to get any like awkwardness over with because it's something you're supposed to do. Or like I was saying earlier, like forcing forgiveness because you need the other person to not be mad at you because you can't handle that discomfort. I'm also guilty of that one. But that kind of anxious apology, like you were saying, Aylen, it is more about that person trying to force it upon the other.
Right. It's not about your pain they created. It's about their need to get this apology out so that you forgive them. Yeah.
And they can feel better.
Selfish.
Yes. And then y'all kind of touched on this one too, but when it starts to turn into an argument or someone's getting defensive and not owning up to the fact that they hurt you. And I honestly feel like sometimes that is just a reaction to them feeling like they can't hold their emotions well. So how could they even begin to address yours? And so keeping that in mind, maybe the person who you need an apology from just isn't capable of it yet. And to give them grace too.
And maybe tap into what Aylen was saying with the hand on the heart and even accessing what we can within ourselves if we can't get what we need from someone else, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that we kind of touched on that I wanted to expand on was two things that I've seen before from people closer to me is like a performance or a pity when it comes to apology. So performance being an apology that's like that person is trying to be seen as a good person. They want to show you how bad they feel instead of focusing on how you actually feel and the impact that they had on you. And most times you can tell when people are overdoing it because maybe they're like sighing dramatically or holding their chest in a way that doesn't feel sincere. Like maybe it looks more performative.
Right.
Or they're repeating like, I feel so terrible. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, what can I do? But it's almost like they're just acting sad at you instead of taking any responsibility for what they've just done or caused for you. And to me, that's just play, make believe.
It brings me back to like middle school Mean Girls kind of days where it's like they do apologize and maybe their performance was really good that you believed them. And then you found out they were talking about you and saying all this stuff when it was like, oh my God, the lies.
Becky, look at her butt. No, just kidding. The way you said, oh my God, it reminded me of that song. Couldn't help myself.
All right, we're really getting back to middle schools.
And then the other one that I had put along with that was pity. And I feel like at first I was kind of mixing these up when I was brainstorming in my head, but then I separated them. I was like, okay, one's performance, one is pity. And I feel like this one puts the person being apologized to in a position of weakness. Like the person apologizing, the energy is more like, oh, poor you. I didn't realize you were so sensitive.
Ooh, you fragile
and it can come off like, yes. And that is condescending as hell. Like they're talking down to me rather than meeting me with empathy and understanding. And again, they're not focusing on how they made me feel.
That's a good one.
And both of those, I feel like those are just based on guilt or ego or something that they're supposed to do.
Performance and pity. I even like the way you group them together. I'm like, yeah, wow, people do this.
In a way, I guess you can just say it's like an excuse, like the pity. Oh, I didn't realize you were that sensitive. Like otherwise I wouldn't have said that to you. Excuse me, I can handle my own. But I still have a heart. Like I'm still human. I still get hurt sometimes. I'm not a stone wall, brick built, don't let any emotions in or out.
It does feel a little gaslighty.
Right. Like, oh, you're sorry, I'm fragile. I'm sorry, you're a dick.
Yeah, right?
That's a good one.
Any more bad examples for you, Hannah?
That was my list.
Okay. What about you, Aylen?
I love it. Your last one kind of made me think back on when people apologize so they don't get in trouble. Like your sibling is like, all right, you know what? I've had it. I'm telling mom. I'm telling on you. They're like, no, I'm sorry. That is one to apologize so that there aren't repercussions. No, it doesn't count. I think I had some middle school girls have that kind of a thing too. I remember this is actually really kind of a sad story. I was in the bathroom. I was like upset and crying because the two girls that I was a band nerd, guys. I played the flute. And these two girls that I was friends with, I don't even remember what it was that I said, but they both made faces at each other that was not inconspicuous enough, like I saw. And I was like, oh, wow. You got, number one, it was a face to each other like they had just been talking bad about me. And whatever it was I said, they were like, you see what Aylen just said again or something like that. It was that kind of, ooh. And I was so sensitive that I went into the bathroom crying. these two girls got on either side of the toilet and stood over and were laughing like, Aylen, are you going to come out? What are you doing? This and that. And they were like laughing.
What are their names?
Right?
What are their addresses? Last 4 digits of their social.
It was so cruel when I think back on it. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I like it also was building up rage. And I was like, you know what? I don't think we even need to worry about band practice. I'm calling my mom. And I like unlocked the stall. I'm getting out the bathroom. And that's when they were like, no, Aylen. Because if their mothers would have known how they were treating me, they would have gotten in trouble. So I didn't even care about those apologies. Those were worthless to me. But yes, so the apologies, just so that you don't get in trouble. Bad apology all the way.
Right.
I have 2 others. The next one, it's a pet peeve statement of mine. I'm sorry you feel that way. Blech. I cannot stand that statement. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry that you have the problem. I'm sorry that you are taking it this way. I'm sorry you're doing this and it's not me. Is basically all that's really saying, right? I'm sure you guys have gotten that one.
Oh, 100%.
And it's usually followed by the word but.
Yes. Well, that's kind of my last one. My last one was, I'm sorry, but you were just blah, 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 blah. And the proceed to blame. I feel like those can be like 2 different ones in a sense, because it's almost like the argumentative one, Lauryn, you had mentioned, but it's like, you are the reason I went crazy, or you made me say that to you. No. You are in control of your mouth. You're in control of your hands, even if it's a physical altercation. You never know. It's crazy arguments nowadays. But yeah, when proceeding to blame, nope. Bad apology. Yeah. So those were my 3 main ones.
I got that one a lot when I was the annoying little sister. Like, I'd get slapped or something for doing something totally annoying, and then I'd go tell mom, and mom'd get mad, and brother or sister would be like, I'm sorry, but she was annoying me. Blaming me, even though they hit me. But I was totally being a little twat.
Oh, yeah. She made me do it. She made you do it. I could just hear that. I think actually the first couple that I had were ones that you guys mentioned. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry you feel that way. I also had the I'm sorry, but I also had written out in a slightly different way. But one of the last things you said, Aylen, when someone says, well, because you did XYZ, it made me do this. So I think we had the same for a lot of those. And then the last one just kind of goes off one of the good ones that I mentioned, but in reverse, where people who are just waiting around for someone to tell them that they messed up. I feel like we all know people, have known people who are like this, where it's like, well, I'm fine as long as people didn't tell me I did something wrong. No, like you have to have the emotional awareness to realize when you did something wrong. You just can't wait for people to sit there and tell you when you do something wrong. So that was another one that I had.
Yeah, interesting.
That's a really good one I didn't think of.
Before we continue, we just want to keep it raw with you guys. We actually just had a little baby, Elena, pop into our podcast episode here, and she would like to apologize. Okay, so after hearing all of the brainstorming for the bad apologies, I'm curious to hear, how did it make you ladies feel to receive these bad apologies that we just brainstormed together? So whoever wants to go first to share.
Yeah, I'll go. One of the first words that's come into mind is dismissed. I will say, dismissed is one, belittled for sure, and just not made a priority. Yeah, so not valued.
How about you, Hannah?
I can also agree with the undervalued piece. I think also a lack of connection. because I feel like when you're in a state of needing an apology or giving an apology, it's a beautiful opportunity for a deeper connection. And especially if that conversation piece is there, where you're able to have a grounded conversation and talk it out and feel heard and also listen, then there's a beautiful moment, a beautiful opportunity for connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's missing a lot when the apology is just half-assed or you don't feel like they mean it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. For me, when I receive a bad apology, I feel unheard, disrespected, like my feelings didn't matter. And a lot of the times it just feels like something that people are doing out of obligation, and I know that's something that I feel like we touched on a little bit earlier, but not because they truly wanted me to feel better. So that's I think how it felt for me. Now that we've reflected on these bad apologies and how it felt to receive them, I want to say that when delivering an apology, the most important thing to remember is accountability and repair. I know we've mentioned accountability a little bit, but repair is another huge part. To truly give a good apology, you have to drop any ego and take full accountability for your actions. I think we all know how difficult it can be sometimes to admit when we're in the wrong. So why is repair so important? Words alone aren't enough. Many apologies stop at "I'm sorry," but without action, those words can feel empty. True repair is about making things right, not just smoothing things over. It answers the unspoken question, what are you actually going to do to fix this? Repair also rebuilds trust. When trust is broken, whether in friendships, relationships, or even professional settings, repair is what helps restore that foundation. Trust isn't rebuilt by words alone, it's rebuilt through consistent effort and meaningful change. Repair shows accountability, not just guilt. Many people apologize to get rid of their own guilt, not to truly make things better. Repair forces the apologizer to take responsibility beyond their emotions and put in real effort to undo the harm that was caused. Without repair, an apology can feel hollow. Think about the times you've received a half-hearted apology where nothing changed. It probably didn't mean much, right? Repair is what separates a meaningful apology from a performative one. So to go off what Hannah mentioned earlier about the performance. Now that we talked about how important repair is in making an apology, let's talk about the 6 elements of a gold standard apology and how to incorporate repair into your apology. So this is where it gets juicy. The 6 key elements of a gold standard apology are action, apology, incoherence, impact, repair, and prevention. If you focus on these elements, keep your apology clear and to the point, and cut out the fluff, you are well on your way to a gold standard apology. Let's break it down and see what each of those mean and how to put them into action. We'll use a common example situation all of us have probably experienced at one time or another: a friend who always shows up late to your planned hangouts. Think we can all relate to that one probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, number 1, action. Really get clear about the action you are apologizing for. Remember, drop the ego and really take responsibility here. So a format to follow for this step: I did blank. What made it worse was blank. For example, I showed up late to our hangout today. What made it worse was this was the 3rd time in a row I've done it lately. Number 2, apology. This is where you clearly state your apology. No excuses, just ownership. The format to follow for this one is, I'm sorry for doing blank. For example, I'm sorry for showing up late to our hangout today. Number 3 is incoherence. This is where you state why this isn't in alignment with what's important to you. This is very individualized because we all have different things that are important to each of us. For me, it's important to respect and show courtesy for the time of the people I care about. So that's what I'll use in this part of the apology. So the format for this one is, it's important for me to act blank and I didn't. For example, it's important for me to act with respect and courtesy for the people I care about and I didn't. Number 4 is impact. In this part of the apology, you are acknowledging the impact. Mischa made sure to emphasize something important here in his workshop. It is that we only apologize for our actions, not our impact. I will circle back to this in a moment and why it's important and clarify a little bit if there's any question. But the format for this one is, I imagine you experienced blank and blank. For example, I imagine you experienced hurt and frustration. Number 5 is repair. This is the step that starts moving an apology from just an acknowledgement of wrongdoing to actually rebuilding trust and healing the hurt that was caused. The format for this one is, to make it better, I will do blank. For example, to make it better, I will be more intentional about showing up for you and making sure my actions match my words. And the last one, number 6, is prevention. This is where you tell the person a change you will make going forward to prevent this from happening again in the future. The format for this one is, moving forward, I will blank. For example, moving forward, I will be more intentional with my planning and time management, make a clear calendar event with reminders, and set multiple alarms the day of to ensure I leave on time. Now that I covered the 6 steps and the format and an example for each step, I want to circle back to the importance of only apologizing for your actions and not the impact. He really emphasized this in his workshop because if you start apologizing for the impact, as he put it, it takes you down a whole rabbit hole that you don't want to go down. Impact in this example could have been that by me showing up late to this hangout, it triggered abandonment issues in my friend. Mischa emphasized that we can't take responsibility for their traumas and triggers because that starts to make things messy. The focus is that you're apologizing for the action that you did. Now that I've shared this method, I'm curious to hear both of your thoughts on it. So, what are your thoughts, Aylen?
So good. Oh my goodness. Yeah. The layout is very nice. I love how he breaks it down and explains it all. I think honestly, the last ones, the repair and prevention, really got to me. I think how you're going to make it better, what changes you're going to implement, it shows dedication to the relationship that you have with that person. It's acknowledging, you're important to me and I would not want this to happen again. I do not want to continue to hurt you. It's an expression of love. I think it's beautifully laid out. Yeah, I'm definitely wanting to implement it moving forward here on out.
Yay! How about you, Hannah?
I was also loving the layout too. I was like, wow, he laid it out so nicely. And I think the one that I loved the most was the third one, incoherence. Like, it's important for me to act blank and I didn't. Because I think even in a way to invite accountability to your own life is to tell people in an apology and add that level of vulnerability. Like, this is the standard I have for myself and I just let myself down and I let you down. Yeah. And now by telling someone what's on my heart and what I expect of myself, it's kind of letting them into your world. Like, I'm sorry I did this to even like the both of us. But then going into impact and doubling down on how you made the other person feel. And I imagine you experienced blank and blank. I don't know. I just think that is another, like I said before, an opportunity for connection and helping the other person feel seen and heard. Yeah. So I love this.
Yay! I'm so glad. Well, thank you both for sharing your thoughts. It also had me so captivated when I was in the workshop hearing these methods. I was like, this is gold. No wonder it's called the gold standard apology.
It's so funny. It almost feels like so simple. Like, oh yeah, why haven't we been doing it this way?
right. And that's why I really wanted to do a podcast episode on this, because I just feel like more people need to hear this.
Absolutely.
So please, listeners, send this to your friends, your family. I just feel that if more people started doing this method, we would become a more reparative society, which we're not right now.
Yeah.
So that's what really inspired me to share this was, the more people that know, the more genuine care and healing and repair we actually have happening in our world. So this method alone is sure to improve everyone's current apology skills, but I also want to offer a little bonus and share a few advanced repair skills that you can incorporate into your apology as well. These are consent, unconditional offering, flexibility, double down inquiry, proactive social obligation release, foregoing closure, and gratitude. Now, I know these sound like a whole bunch of big words, but I'm going to go through each one, and you'll both start to see how some of these are things you guys even mentioned earlier. So consent is the first one. This one usually happens before you begin your apology, and it can look like, are you available to receive an apology from me? This shows not only respect for their time, but also checks in to make sure they are emotionally available to receive an apology from you. Like Hannah's example earlier, right? When she was like, sometimes I just need the time to process. It goes into that like forcing an apology on someone. Get their consent first.
Give me some space, damn it.
Exactly. Make sure that they are actually in a place. What if they had a really shitty day and they're like, I just can't even handle this right now, right? So you want to make sure that it's actually an appropriate moment for them.
That's so respectful.
Yeah, exactly. I think this also just kind of pours into that healing and repair. It's like, oh, yes. So the next one is unconditional offering. This one lets the person know that this comes with no strings attached, that you aren't wanting anything from them, that you just want to offer an apology.
Yes.
And I think this is a good one too, because I think sometimes it can feel, there can be a lot of tension. So I think it's a great way to I just want to offer you this, nothing in return, no strings attached. The next one's flexibility. So this one kind of goes along with the consent for me a little bit, but this can look like I'm available to connect with you in whatever way and whenever works for you. So this also shows courtesy and kindness for the other person by making sure it's a time that works for them. So being flexible, realizing that we're in the wrong in whatever situation it is, and having that flexibility for them to also, I think it gives them a little bit of more control in the situation too. The next one is double down inquiry. This one can look like, I welcome if there's more for you to express. I like this one a lot too, because you want to open the floor for the person you're apologizing to, so that if there is more to be expressed than just that particular incident, they're open to do so. Because I think that sometimes, especially with people who are close to us, right? There could be one little situation that finally broke the camel's back, and that's what they're having a conversation about. But there could be other incidents that maybe led to this, or that the person's still bothered by. So this one opens the floor and allows for the other person to express more if there is more there. The next one is proactive social obligation release. This one can look like, please don't feel the need to forgive me or make this okay. I like this one a lot too, because this lets the person know that just because you're offering an apology, it doesn't just magically make everything okay or mean that they have to forgive you. You're simply just offering your apology. I think that's the thing, right? It feels like when we're younger, we're taught to be like, I'm sorry. And then we're taught to be like, it's okay.
I forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I forgive you. It's okay. So I think realizing that you can offer an apology to someone, taking the obligation for them to forgive you out of the equation.
It's so good.
So I liked that one. The next one, I like all these, let's be real. The next one is foregoing closure. This one can look like, this doesn't have to be the last word on this. A lot of situations can be very layered or have a lot of emotions involved. So everything might not be covered or addressed in one conversation, or things may pop up later that weren't thought of in the moment. So this lets the person know that they can always circle back to this conversation if more discussion's needed. Because I think a lot of people also I've seen where, okay, we're just going to do this, we're going to end it, and then we're not going to speak of it again. It's like we're going to put all this energy into this moment and then close the door and move on. But this is allowing that door to be open if more conversation's needed. And the final one is gratitude. This last one's a little cherry on top, but also very important. And this one can look like, thank you for letting me know about your experience, for the time and attention you're giving me here, and for your kindness, grace, patience, and openness to receiving this apology. Depending on the situation, even hearing an apologizer out can be very difficult for the other person. So showing gratitude for their time and patience and openness really can be a wonderful thing to offer. What do you ladies think about the bonus?
I just got to say, his name is Mischa, right?
Yeah, Mischa Byruck.
Mischa, man, if you ever hear this, how'd you get so good at apologizing? I'm a little suspicious. How much bad stuff did you do? These are so good.
Yeah. Props to you, Mischa. Yeah, no, they're amazing. The ones that were sticking out for me, I love the no expectation thing. And the point about even teaching that so young. You say sorry and you accept. And that's how it goes.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you force children to share even. You can ask this person for the toy and they can say no. They don't have to share.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a newer way to teach kids nowadays. And that one's huge, as well as I loved, are you even ready to receive my apology? Let me not assume. Let me ask, do you need more time? Some people need longer than others. So just because, you're ready to apologize, it's just so respectful to actually acknowledge it's okay if you're not ready. Yeah.
And even when someone's not ready and you might try to force it anyway, it usually doesn't get you anywhere because they have this wall up.
Exactly.
Like, hey, they said they're not ready. Just respect it.
It's almost,
you're just wasting your time and energy.
Your energy. Yeah, it's an energy saver to not even waste your breath right now. Wait for the right moment.
Oh, yeah. I know we covered a lot of juicy content today, but as we wrap up this episode, I would like us all to reflect and share some final thoughts together. I'll start us off by sharing my biggest takeaway from this workshop. So my biggest takeaway was how making the goal of an apology repair is one of the most powerful and healing things you can do. Apologies can really strengthen our relationships, push our own discomfort and growth, and result in actual healing if done with deep thought, accountability, and intention. What was your biggest takeaway, Hannah?
Well, this actually wasn't easy for me to think and reflect back on. I obviously thought of all of the bad ways to apologize just so easily, like scary easily. Because, and the reason why it wasn't so easy to reflect on is because I've not been a very good apologizer for a lot of my life. It's hard for me to own up to things that I've done wrong or face that shame and guilt that I feel for myself and not really putting the other person first and assessing how they feel. And reflecting on that during this, it just opened my mind up to so many ways that I can actually take the verbiage and apply it in a real life situation and just try to get comfortable knowing that I have this tool here to pull on. Like, this is how you might say this, or this is how you might say that. Whereas in the past, I've never heard of some of these things before. And so it just blew my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I can say this, I can say that. Like, another thing that I wanted to reflect on was how many friendships I've lost because maybe I didn't want to say I'm sorry, or because I didn't open up a conversation about something that hurt me, or if I had noticed something hurt them. And the conversation just never happened and we never talked again.
Yeah.
So I think all in all, the opportunity for connection and healing that comes with learning how to truly apologize the best that you can is what really hit my heart today.
Awesome.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
How about you, Aylen? What was your biggest takeaway?
So, like Hannah, I have a couple. And I will say that number one, I'm kind of thinking of this as I'm thinking back on people that, well, like Hannah was mentioning, that I am not friends with anymore or I'm not in contact with at this moment. And I can honestly, if this can help me just doing this on the inside, having an internal conversation and just speaking like to that person as if I'm talking to them, you know, role playing it out. This can be so healing for anyone who can't have that apology. What if your loved one passed away?
Absolutely.
And you're never going to have that, you know, in the present moment. But you can, you know, if it's your mother or father that's gone, you can say, hey, Dad, you know, when that happened, I did this, and go through all these steps. How incredibly healing. So to do this without the person there is, I'm just thinking how healing this can be for the individual. So for those of you listening who have past loved ones and you wish you know, had that opportunity, this is a great way to just go ahead and do it and play it out in your mind.
Absolutely. And I was going to touch on that in a little bit, actually, but just how good of an exercise this is. If you say you have a haunting apology, even in your head, where you're like, damn, I could have done that so much better.
Yeah.
Take this and write it out or speak it out, like you said. And, you know, I think it's also a great release in that way too, like you're saying. And I love your idea of even doing it with family or friends who've passed and using it as a way to rewrite it, right? Rewriting that conversation.
I feel like I've heard stories of like, me and, you know, someone had an argument and then they got into a car wreck or something like that. Like, how awful. And this can be something to really pacify those lingering feelings. The other thing that kind of came to mind, and we're talking about, you know, action, apology, and coherence, impact, repair, and prevention. It's I almost thought of ways of tweaking it and making it my own, in the sense of, I'll give an example of with incoherence and saying, you know, it's important for me that I did this and I didn't do that. It can almost be, as Hannah puts, an opportunity for more connection, to even ask them, I want to understand what's important to you. And what I'm getting is that it's important for you to feel this, this, and this. And I did not provide that for you. So even though it's a lot of self-reflection there, I understand, you know, I'm going to change this moving forward. I want to do this. But moving forward, what do you need? What would you like moving forward? So there's almost like, oh, this is even an opportunity to tag team and to
and inquire a little bit more.
Yes, inquire and brainstorm together what you're going to do.
Have that discussion, right, that we talked about.
I guess I really do like that discussion with apologies here, because I'm already creating some more things with that. So that was another takeaway of like, oh, wow, this could be a ping pong table type of conversation here. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, even just thinking off the cuff too, can you imagine how it would actually feel to get one of these apologies?
I mean, for me, I'm thinking, how could I not forgive you?
Right?
Of course you're forgiven.
I'm just like, oh my gosh, it would just feel so different than I think most of us are used to. That, how could I not forgive you?
You know what? Speaking about forgiveness, hearing another takeaway. Okay, let me add on one more thing. I feel like flipping this and reflecting on our takeaways, I have one more, and looking at forgiveness too. I feel like a lot of these tools that we're learning and how to be a really good apologizer also can make you think about how to be a good forgiver. And maybe that's another type of episode, but you know, when you're holding that
Mischa, you gotta create a whole other workshop for forgivers if you're listening.
And Aylen, you made me think about it when you were talking about speaking to ones who've passed on. And I did this forgiveness mindfulness one time. I forgot what it was called, but I remember the coach telling me about it, saying how powerful it was because he did it with a client at the right time during their container together. She had lost a son that was murdered, and she was holding so much resentment towards the murderer.
I can't even imagine.
And couldn't forgive. And it showed up as a block to so many things that she was trying to move forward with in her life. And like learning how to forgive is a whole other topic.
Ooh, let's pin it. I want to do that.
Podcast part 2.
Whoop whoop. Comment below if you want to hear a podcast on how to become a good forgiver.
Yeah.
Okay, that was all I had.
Well, next, I want us to each share one gold standard phrase that stuck out to us that we want to use in our next apology. So I know when I asked for your reflection, you guys kind of brought up some that you liked, but was there any in particular that you were like, I want to use this in my next apology for sure? Aylen, what do you see yourself using in your next apology?
For sure, I think something along the lines of, I understand that it's important for me to do this and I didn't do that. That one struck me like, ooh, I'm definitely using that one in my next apology. And then
the incoherence.
Yeah, the incoherence. And then with prevention, moving forward, I would like to make a promise to you because I care about you and I love you, you know, and I will do such and such. But then with both of those and asking, giving them the opportunity to say like, what's important to you and what do you want to see moving forward? So incoherence and prevention, having a back and forth. I will be using that next one. Hopefully it won't be one of you that I'm having to apologize to, but
but hopefully you get to just tell us later. Guess what, guys? The gold standard,
probably
baby.
the husbands, right, guys? I'm just saying.
They're gonna get it first. Poor men. How about you, Hannah? What gold standard phrase are you taking to your next apology?
It's so hard to pick. Why are you making me
pick?
Pick?
We'll just do them all.
All of them.
We will be pulling up the notes from this podcast as soon as we have a next apology need here.
I like how Aylen put the verbiage earlier with the incoherence option. She said, what did you say? It's important for me to act blank and I didn't.
Yeah, what's important for you? Like, what were you needing that you did not get from me?
Okay.
I like that.
Yes.
That's another bonus. We should tag that on the bonus section.
Mischa, you can steal it. It's fine.
I loved the way that you put that. And then the one underneath it, the impact of, I imagine you experienced blank and blank. I think that one I would be a little bit hesitant maybe to assume what they're feeling, but I might flip it and inquire. Like, I imagine you experienced blank and blank, but I'm not really sure. Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, is that accurate?
Or what you felt?
Right.
Because for me, talking about emotions and naming them has also been part of my journey. Silly, I'm almost 30, but I know there's other people that are still learning how to do that too. And calling it an emotion, not a thing. Naming it as an emotion. And I think learning how other people feel things and hearing them name their emotions just opens up the perceptions more and more and gives you also a deep understanding to yourself. So those two are what I'm really hanging on to the most, I think, that I would like to try moving forward.
Yeah. Well, then there's a common thread here because mine was incoherence too.
Copycat.
I know, right? But it's important for me to act blank, and I didn't. Really taking the accountability and laying out there why it's so important to me to do better, and by stating what specifically is important to me that I didn't do, will help hold myself more accountable to my values going forward. And that was what I really liked about that one too, is that it is so individualized, because maybe certain values that are important to Hannah are different for Aylen and are different for me. And so I think it really individualizes that part of the apology to what's really important to you. And it's important to sit there and think, I did this and I did XYZ, but what was really important to me here that I didn't do? And in that example of the friend being late, I know something for me is it's important that I respect the time of the people I care about, in the example I gave above. And so that's a value of mine. And so I think by verbalizing that and by letting the other person know that this is an important value of mine and I didn't stand by that, it holds me accountable in the future. So that incoherence was obviously, I want to do the whole shebang bang because it's great, but the incoherence one was probably like the biggest one that stuck out to me too. Lastly, I want us each to share our personal commitments to fuck up better moving forward. So why don't you start us off, Hannah?
Taking ownership. And God, this is so hard. Taking ownership and just being okay with the discomfort of it. That is my personal commitment to fucking up better. And also trying incoherence and impact and playing with those tools when it comes to apology too. Just opening up my mind to the different possibilities and ways to apologize.
How about you, Aylen?
Yeah, my commitment is honestly to have these conversations with myself that I spoke about. I have people that I do not talk to currently that I think this is going to be so healing for me to process and to step into the space of me apologizing for any parts, whether intentional or not, that I played in. And role playing that out and having these conversations that I can't have is going to be really amazing. I want to commit to that. So I'll have to really, I'll come back to you girls and share with you how.
We'll hold you accountable.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys would really like to, hear how that went. I feel the idea of it is already pacifying me. I can already feel it in my, energy in my own body of like, that feels like a relief to, go ahead and have the conversation, play with it, visualize, however I'm going to do it. But yeah, I commit to that. What about you, Lauryn? What's your commitment?
My commitment is, I think, similar to Hannah's, but to really focus on dropping any ego, right? Because it can be so hard if we fuck up to really take ownership of that. So I think dropping any ego and just taking that full ownership for the action that I did is my commitment going forward. Because a goal of mine this year, as you ladies know, has been to embrace discomfort, confront the uncomfortable. So carrying that with this and dropping ego, taking ownership, even if it feels uncomfortable, knowing that it's going to cause more healing and the repair that's truly needed.
Good stuff.
Alrighty. To give a quick recap before we sign off, when making an apology, really focus on taking true accountability and having the goal be repair. Once again, the 6 elements are action, apology, incoherence, impact, repair, and prevention. I also want to offer a little challenge to our listeners. This is the part I said I was going to mention later. I invite you to think of a past apology you've given. Would it hold up to this gold standard? I want to encourage everyone to use these tools and write it out on paper. Whether it's a past apology you wish you'd done better, or an apology you still need to make, putting pen to paper and working through each step of the gold standard apology will make sure that you fuck up better going forward. All 3 of us have attended personal growth workshops that really challenge and push us to shift our mindset and actions. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to hear more about insights we've gained in other workshops, make sure to drop a comment below and let us know. I also want to thank Mischa for an amazing workshop with great tools and insights that I think everyone needs to hear. If you want to learn more about what he does in particular, you can follow him on Instagram at Mischa Byruck. I will put his information in the description for everyone. And remember, we want to hear from you and continue to put out content that you love and resonate with. If you have any questions for us or any suggestions or episode topics that you'd love to know more about, DM us on Instagram or TikTok at the Bestie Perspective, or reach out to us through our email at thebestieperspective@gmail.com. Also, subscribe to our podcast if you're not already. And if you don't know already, our episodes are also now streaming on YouTube, where you can find us on our channel called The Bestie Perspective. Next week on The Bestie Perspective, we have Scrubs, Sweat, and Tears, Nursing Burnout. Led by our very own Hannah, next week's episode is a vulnerable deep dive into nursing burnout. And trust us, it gets real. We were exhausted, overwhelmed, and questioning everything. Sound familiar? All 3 of us open up about our personal experiences in the field, how burnout hit us, what helped us heal, and what we tell a bestie going through it now. Whether you're in scrubs or just feeling stretched thin, this conversation will meet you where you are. It will be raw, relatable, and restorative. Don't miss it. Until next time, keep growing, keep glowing, and always trust in your own bestie perspective.